7 days can either look like a blur, or they can make you unrecognizable. You don't need a year to change your life. You need a week of radical focus. What if in just 7 days the old you disappeared, and a stronger version took over? When people think about becoming powerful, their minds often go to the external. The way they look, the money in their account, the influence they have over others. But here is the undeniable truth. No external result can ever outpace the internal identity you carry. If you see yourself as weak, it does not matter how much you accomplish, you will keep shrinking back into weakness. If you see yourself as average, even your victories will feel temporary because deep inside, you believe they do not belong to you. Real transformation, especially in a short span like 1 week, begins when you decide to shift the very identity you live by. That shift is not about pretending to be someone else. It is about realizing that the person you want to become is already inside you, waiting for permission to come out. Think about it. Every habit you have, every decision you make, every action you repeat daily flows directly from the identity you hold in your mind. If you believe you are someone who lacks discipline, you will keep hitting the snooze button no matter how many alarms you set. If you believe you are someone who is shy, you will avoid the conversation even if you have the perfect words in your head. The moment you tell yourself, "This is just who I am," you've locked yourself in a prison built by belief. And the hardest prison to escape is not made of steel or concrete. It is made of your own perception. But the opposite is just as powerful. If you decide to shift identity, if you begin to see yourself as powerful, as unstoppable, as someone who commands respect, your actions will align with that image almost immediately. The human brain is wired to act in alignment with who we believe we are. This is why an identity shift can cause massive change in just a week. It's not about learning 10 new skills or reading 20 books. It's about waking up each day and saying, "Who am I choosing to be today?" This is not about faking it. Pretending will never last. This is about embodiment, stepping into the future version of yourself now. When you tell yourself, "I am a person of strength, I am disciplined, I am powerful," you are not lying. You are giving your mind a new script, a new compass to follow. People often underestimate the speed at which life changes once the inner dialogue changes. In fact, many who set out to transform spend too much time fixing the surface, changing outfits, changing routines, changing environments, without addressing the core, the identity. That's why the results do not last. It's like polishing the leaves of a dying tree while ignoring the roots. The roots are identity. Ask yourself this: what identity have I been carrying that no longer serves me? Maybe it's the identity of a procrastinator. Maybe the identity of someone not good enough. Maybe the identity of someone invisible, and then ask, who must I become to be unrecognizable in 1 week? Do not answer with "I want to be successful." Success is vague. Instead, answer with specifics of identity. I am the kind of person who wakes up with discipline. I am the kind of person who walks into a room with presence. I am the kind of person who refuses to waste time on distractions. The moment you speak those words, your mind begins to scan for actions that match them. Transformation becomes natural when identity shifts, because you no longer fight against yourself. Think about a smoker who decides to quit. If they say, "I'm trying to quit smoking," their identity is still a smoker. Every craving becomes a battle. But if they say, "I'm not a smoker," the craving feels foreign, like something outside of who they are. The shift in identity makes the change effortless. That is the exact mechanism you use when becoming powerful and unrecognizable in a week. You don't fight for discipline. You become the person for whom discipline is natural. You don't force confidence. You embody the identity of someone who is already confident. Here's the beauty of it. Once you shift identity, People around you will notice before you even tell them. They will see the way you stand, the way you speak, the way you hold eye contact. Energy radiates from identity, and people respond to energy faster than words. Someone who has shifted identity doesn't need to convince others. They command attention without asking for it. That is what makes you unrecognizable in such a short span. Your inner world is a mirror that reflects outward. If you carry the identity of weakness, the world will mirror weakness back to you. If you carry the identity of strength, opportunity, and power, the world responds in alignment. And the shift can be instant. One decision, one redefinition of who you are, and the ripple effect touches every action you take, every word you speak, every choice you make in the next 7 days. The mistake most people make is waiting for results before claiming the identity. They say, "I will see myself as powerful once I've achieved something." But power works in reverse. You achieve because you see yourself as powerful first. Identity is the seed, results are the fruit. A week is long enough to replant the seed. It is long enough to speak a new story into existence, one where you stop identifying with your past and begin identifying with your potential. And when you do, the actions will follow, the energy will follow, and the recognition from others will follow. Change is not built in grand gestures. Change is built in the small rituals you repeat each day. When people think about transformation in a week, they often imagine a drastic overhaul, moving to a new city, quitting their job, reinventing everything at once. But true transformation, the kind that makes you powerful and unrecognizable in such a short time, is not about chaos or dramatic reinvention. It is about rituals, daily, deliberate actions that signal to your mind and body, something new is happening here. Something different is taking root. A ritual is more than a habit. A habit is something you do almost unconsciously. It can be good or bad, helpful or harmful. A ritual, however, carries intention. It is an act you perform with awareness, with purpose, with meaning. When you turn an action into a ritual, you tell yourself, "This is who I am. This is what I stand for." That is why rituals have the power to rewire identity faster than anything else. In just 1 week, the rituals you choose can dismantle old patterns and install new ones that support the person you are becoming. Think of your mornings. How do you begin the day? Most people grab their phone, scroll aimlessly, and fill their mind with noise before they even take their first conscious breath. That single act sets the tone for everything that follows. But imagine instead beginning your day with discipline, with silence, with clarity. Imagine waking up and immediately aligning your body and mind with who you want to be. A simple ritual of stretching, breathing deeply, and declaring your intention for the day rewires the brain's expectations. You no longer wake up as the same person you were yesterday. You wake up as the future self you are building. Rituals compound quickly. 7 days of repeating a ritual is enough for the mind to begin anchoring a new identity. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections. Every time you perform a ritual with intention, you strengthen a new pathway while weakening the old. If your ritual is discipline, each repetition weakens procrastination. If your ritual is focus, each repetition weakens distraction. In a single week, the shift becomes visible, not just to you, but to everyone around you. They see the difference in your posture, in your presence, in your energy. You look unrecognizable because your rituals have rewired not only your behavior but your aura. Consider athletes. The greatest athletes do not prepare only on game day. They build rituals that shape their performance long before they step onto the field. The way they tie their shoes, the way they warm up, the way they visualize success, these rituals anchor them into peak performance. You do not need to be an athlete to use the same principle. Your rituals can be as simple as writing down 3 things you will conquer today, drinking water before coffee, or taking 5 minutes to visualize the version of yourself you are stepping into. These are not random acts. They are signals to your subconscious mind, this is who I am now. When you approach life with rituals, you eliminate the need for constant motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It rises and falls with mood, with circumstances, with energy. Rituals, however, anchor you regardless of how you feel. You may not feel powerful when you wake up, but if your ritual demands that you move your body, breathe deeply, and set intention, you cannot help but step into power. You may not feel focused in the afternoon, but if your ritual demands that you turn off distractions and give one task your full attention, focus becomes non-negotiable. Rituals do not ask for permission from your feelings. They command your actions and eventually transform your identity. The mistake many make is underestimating the small rituals. They assume that because a ritual takes only 5 or 10 minutes, it cannot possibly change their life. But small rituals repeated daily are what create seismic shifts. 1 glass of water in the morning does not matter, but 1 week of hydrating properly changes your energy. 1 journal entry does not matter, but 1 week of intentional reflection changes your clarity. 1 day of consistent discipline does not matter, but 7 days in a row makes people say, "What happened to you?" The small rituals stack up until the transformation becomes visible, and rituals are contagious. When you live by rituals, people notice. They see that you are no longer reactive, no longer drifting, no longer wasting time. They sense a structure, a stability, an intentionality in your actions. That presence draws respect because most people live without it. They are scattered, distracted, and inconsistent. But you, in just 1 week of rituals, project something rare, control of your body, your mind, your environment, your focus. Control is power. Control makes you unrecognizable. The most important thing is that rituals are chosen consciously. They are not inherited from others, not copied mindlessly from the internet. They are yours. A ritual has power because you attach meaning to it. If meditation grounds you, make it a ritual. If writing fuels your clarity, make it a ritual. If moving your body strengthens your presence, make it a ritual. What matters is not how complex the ritual is, but how consistently you perform it and what identity it reinforces. In 7 days, rituals can do what motivation cannot. They can reprogram your patterns. They can dismantle your old story. They can create the framework for the person you are becoming. And once a ritual is in place, it continues to ripple forward. It does not just shape the 7 days. It shapes the weeks, the months, the years to come. A ritual repeated daily is the foundation of transformation, and in the span of 1 week, it is the reason you can become powerful and unrecognizable. We are taught from a young age to manage time, to divide hours into schedules, to chase productivity by filling every block with tasks. Yet time is not the true measure of power. 2 people can each have the same 24 hours, but one creates breakthroughs while the other barely survives the day. The difference is not time, it is energy. The person who commands their energy multiplies their impact, their presence, and their power. In 1 week, if you learn to master energy instead of obsessing over time, you can transform how the world experiences you. Energy is not only physical, it is emotional, mental, and spiritual. Physical energy fuels your body, the stamina you carry into your work, your posture, your movement. Mental energy dictates focus, clarity, and creativity. Emotional energy colors the way you show up in relationships, whether you radiate positivity or drain those around you. Spiritual energy is the deep alignment with purpose, the invisible fire that pushes you beyond fatigue and distraction. When all four align, you become magnetic. People cannot ignore your presence because you vibrate on a higher frequency. In just 7 days, mastering energy can make you appear transformed, even if nothing else about your life has changed. Consider sleep. Most underestimate it, treating it like an inconvenience. Yet sleep is the foundation of energy. A single night of deep, quality rest sharpens your focus, elevates your mood, and enhances your ability to command the day. 1 week of disciplined sleep habit, turning off screens earlier, respecting your body's rhythm, creating an environment for rest, can shift your energy so dramatically that others will ask what changed. You will speak with more conviction, move with more strength, and think with more precision. The clock did not change, but your energy did. Nutrition is another pillar of energy. What you put into your body is not just fuel, it is information. Food communicates with your cells, telling them whether to perform at peak levels or collapse into lethargy. Too often people rely on sugar and caffeine, chasing quick boosts that only end in crashes. But in 1 week, by fueling your body with clean, intentional choices, hydration, balanced meals, mindful eating, you can stabilize energy so that it flows steadily instead of spiking and falling. That stability radiates as confidence. Others will see it in the way you sustain your pace while they are fading. Movement is not only about fitness, it is about circulation, about activating life force within you. A body that sits still for hours becomes stagnant, and stagnant energy breeds fatigue. Even short bursts of movement, stretching, walking, breathing deeply, revive energy. Imagine giving yourself rituals of movement throughout the day for 7 days straight. Your posture shifts, your presence sharpens, and the way you carry yourself communicates strength. People will notice the difference, not because you announce it, but because energy is visible in how you move through space. Breathing may be the most overlooked source of energy. We do it unconsciously, yet the way we breathe dictates the state of our body and mind. Shallow, rapid breathing signals stress, while deep, intentional breathing activates calm and focus. By practicing conscious breathing each day, you teach your nervous system to respond with clarity instead of panic. In 1 week, this single act can transform your energy from reactive to composed, from scattered to centered. Others will sense the calm authority you carry, and it will make you appear unrecognizable to those who knew you as stressed and restless. Commanding energy also requires protecting it. This means saying no to energy thieves, distractions, toxic conversations, meaningless tasks. Time wasted is not the problem, energy wasted is. When you allow others to drain your energy, you weaken your ability to project power. Protecting energy does not always mean isolation. It means discernment. Choosing carefully where your energy flows ensures that every interaction strengthens instead of weakens you. In 1 week of enforcing these boundaries, people will notice you have become harder to access, but also far more magnetic when you choose to engage. What truly sets apart those who appear powerful is not that they do more, but that they arrive fully charged in what they choose to do. They step into meetings radiating focus, they speak with voices that carry weight, they pursue goals with intensity that others cannot match. This is not because they have more hours, it is because they have cultivated and commanded their energy. And the beauty of energy is that it multiplies. The more you nurture it, the more it expands, until your presence feels larger than life. When you command your energy, you change the rhythm of your life. Instead of rushing, you move deliberately. Instead of reacting, you act with clarity. Instead of dragging yourself through the day, you drive the day forward with momentum. People will look at you and say, there is something different. They may not be able to name it, but they will feel it. Energy speaks louder than words, louder than accomplishments, louder than appearances. In 7 days of aligning your energy, you can redefine how the world perceives you. Every human being lives inside a story. Some are aware of it, most are not. That story is not just what has happened to you, it is the meaning you have given to what has happened. It is the language you use when you describe yourself, the way you frame your struggles, and the way you speak about your future. This story becomes the lens through which you interpret the world and the script by which you live. If your story is one of limitation, you will shrink. If your story is one of resilience, you will rise. To become powerful and unrecognizable in a single week, you must seize control of that narrative, because until you do, the old story will keep writing itself over and over again. The mind is a storyteller by nature. From childhood, we start telling ourselves who we are. I'm shy. I'm not good at math. I always fail at relationships. I never finish what I start. These sentences may have been born from one experience, maybe even from someone else's words, but repeated often enough they become your identity. The danger is not that these stories were once true. The danger is that you keep repeating them long after they've stopped being accurate. And because the human brain seeks consistency, it will subconsciously drive your actions to confirm the story you tell. If you believe, I'm not disciplined, you will act in ways that prove yourself right. If you believe, I'm invisible, you will show up timidly so that people overlook you. The story dictates the script, but the moment you reclaim authorship, everything changes. Imagine looking at your story as a book in your hands. You can keep rereading the old chapters, underlining the pain and failure, convincing yourself that this is all there is. Or you can realize you are the author, and the pen is still in your grip. The next chapter has not been written yet. The question is not what the past says about you. It is what story you are willing to live into now. In a week, you can completely shift that narrative. You may not erase the past, but you can change the way you frame it. Instead of saying, I was rejected, you can say, I was redirected. Instead of saying, I lost everything, you can say, I cleared space to build anew. The story remains the same in fact, but its meaning transforms, and with it, your power. Language is the first tool of transformation. Listen carefully to the words you speak about yourself. Do you say, I'm trying? That signals doubt. Do you say, I always fail? That programs defeat. Do you say, I'm not good enough? That anchors insecurity. Every word you speak is a brick in the house of your identity. Change the words, and you change the architecture of your self-image. If you spend 7 days consciously speaking a different language, words of power, words of clarity, words of resilience, your brain will adapt. It cannot resist alignment with the new narrative. The shift becomes visible not just in what you say, but in how you carry yourself. This is why leaders, visionaries, and creators are powerful. They control the narrative. They don't deny reality, but they frame it in a way that fuels action. Where others see obstacles, they tell a story of opportunity. Where others see failure, they tell a story of lessons. Where others see endings, they tell a story of beginnings. The same events that break most people become fuel for those who master narrative. And the truth is, anyone can do it. You do not need extraordinary circumstances. You only need the courage to rewrite your own story. 1 week of narrative control is enough to change how people see you. Imagine you walk into a room, and instead of introducing yourself as someone who is trying to get better, you say, I am building discipline daily. Instead of saying, I'm always anxious, you say, I'm learning to master calm under pressure. These subtle shifts alter not only the way others see you, but also the way you see yourself. People respond to conviction, and conviction comes from the story you tell consistently. If you repeat the new narrative enough times, others will believe it, and more importantly, you will begin to embody it. Your story is also shaped by what you allow into your environment. The conversations you entertain, the content you consume, the voices you listen to, these all feed the narrative. If you spend a week filtering what you allow in, choosing only that which aligns with the story you want to live, your mind will shift accordingly. A person who consumes negativity cannot escape a narrative of defeat. But a person who immerses in empowering words, uplifting voices, and future-driven conversations begins to believe in possibilities they once ignored. In 7 days, this mental diet can make your entire presence feel different, like a new character has entered the stage. To control your narrative is not to ignore hardship, it is to give hardship meaning. Every scar can either be a mark of shame or a badge of strength, depending on the story you tell about it. Every failure can be either a dead end or a stepping stone. The facts remain unchanged, but the narrative is yours to define. Once you own that power, you stop being at the mercy of circumstance. You stop being a character trapped in someone else's plot. You become the author. And authors are powerful because they decide how the story unfolds. They do not let the past dictate the future. They do not let failure define identity. They do not let circumstance rob them of voice. In a week of deliberate practice, you can shift from living as a character bound by a script to becoming the storyteller shaping destiny. And once you do, the way you speak, the way you move, the way you stand will reflect it. People will sense the change even if they cannot name it. They will look at you and wonder why you seem different, why you carry yourself with authority, why your energy feels magnetic. The answer is simple. You change the narrative, and in doing so, you change the entire story of who you are becoming. Power is not what you say you have, it is what others feel when you enter a room. Words can inspire, but they are empty without the force of aligned action. True power is quiet, undeniable, and embodied. It is not the person who proclaims their strength the loudest who commands respect. It is the person whose behavior, consistency, and presence make it impossible to ignore them. In just 1 week, you can become unrecognizable not by announcing change, but by living it through actions that leave no doubt. Consider how people form impressions. They do not listen to your intentions. They watch what you do. They notice if you arrive on time or late. They notice if you carry yourself with discipline or with carelessness. They notice if your energy is steady or scattered. Every action is a message, and most people are broadcasting weakness without realizing it. They talk about what they want to achieve but take no steps forward. They describe goals but avoid the effort. They promise change but live the same patterns. This dissonance erodes respect. On the other hand, a person who speaks little yet moves with intention earns attention quickly. Their power is projected through consistent action, and others instinctively follow. In a span of 7 days, you can project an entirely new level of power by aligning your actions with the identity you are building. Begin with the smallest, most consistent behaviors. Wake up when you say you will, not when you feel like it. Complete the tasks you set for yourself, not just the ones that are easy. Hold your posture tall, maintain steady eye contact, move with presence. These are not random choices. They are actions that project confidence, discipline, and strength. You do not need to announce to the world that you are transforming. People will see it in the way you carry yourself. Power projected through action is contagious because it creates results that speak louder than words. For example, imagine someone who always said they wanted to get fit but never followed through. Now picture that same person after just 1 week of consistent training, disciplined nutrition, and sharp routines. Even if the body has not fully changed, the energy has. They walk differently. Their face looks more alive. Their decisions reflect control. That shift alone makes others pause and reconsider who they are dealing with. The transformation is not yet physical. It is energetic, projected through action. Another example, someone who always complained about lacking focus now spends a week working without distraction, delivering results without excuses. They don't need to tell anyone they have improved. The results prove it. Actions eliminate doubt. You cannot argue with evidence. That is why in 1 week you can reshape not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. Each action becomes proof of the new identity, and proof builds unshakable confidence. It is important to understand that projecting power through action is not about perfection. It is about alignment. People respect someone whose actions are consistent with their words, even if progress is still in motion. Integrity between what you say and what you do is rare, and rarity commands attention. When you make a commitment and follow through, you project reliability. When you face discomfort and act anyway, you project courage. When you execute without boasting, you project humility coupled with strength. These qualities make you unrecognizable in a short time because most people lack them. There is also a subtle layer to projecting power, restraint. Power is not in doing everything, but in doing the right things. It is not in speaking constantly, but in speaking with precision. Silence, when paired with decisive action, is powerful. Imagine a leader who speaks less but delivers results that exceed expectations. Their words carry weight because they are backed by proof. Now compare that to someone who talks endlessly about what they will do but never delivers. The contrast is clear. One commands power, the other wastes it. Your body language is another form of action. The way you stand, the way you breathe, the way you move, all communicate identity. A slouched posture says defeat. A restless movement says insecurity. But a steady, upright stance with controlled gestures says confidence. People read these signals instantly, often subconsciously. In a week of training yourself to move with intention, you can alter how others perceive you without saying a single word. That shift in perception is what makes you unrecognizable. And yet, projecting power through action is not about impressing others. It is about embodying who you have decided to become. Others noticing is only a byproduct. The real transformation is internal. Every time you take aligned action, you strengthen the identity you have chosen. Every completed task is a declaration. This is who I am now. Every disciplined choice is proof that the old version of you is gone. Power is built in those moments when no one is watching, when it would be easy to slip back into old habits, but you choose differently. After 7 days of such choices, the old patterns weaken, and the new identity grows undeniable. The final truth about projecting power through action is this: consistency is more impressive than intensity. Anyone can make a big move once, but it fades quickly. What makes you powerful is the steady drumbeat of disciplined action. Day after day, you do what you said you would do. Day after day, you honor your rituals. Day after day, you show up with presence. 1 week of consistency will already separate you from most people, because most cannot sustain it even for 7 days. That gap is what makes you appear unrecognizable. You did not just talk about change. You lived it through action, and action cannot be denied. Power is not something handed to you. It is something you build from the inside out. In just 1 week, you can become unrecognizable, not because the world suddenly changes, but because you choose to. You shift your inner identity, rewriting the way you see yourself so your actions align with the future instead of the past. You build daily rituals that rewire your habits and anchor you into discipline and intention. You command your energy, mastering sleep, movement, nutrition, and focus, so you no longer move through life drained but fully alive. You seize control of your narrative, refusing to live inside an old story and instead writing one that reflects strength, resilience, and purpose. And finally, you project power through action, not through empty declarations, but through consistent behavior that makes your transformation undeniable. 7 days is not a lifetime, but it is enough to plant seeds of a new identity, enough to create momentum, enough to make the old version of you fade into the background. 1 week of living with precision, intention, and alignment can alter how you think, how you move, how you speak, and how the world responds to you. The question is not whether you can become powerful and unrecognizable in a week. The question is whether you will choose to step into that possibility today.